Hey guys, what's up? Caleb Downing here, and it's very windy and my voice is all weird, but we're gonna do this anyway and hopefully it all turns out. But today we're talking about the Griffin Armament Gate-lok hub mount. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I think it's awesome. If I haven't said it, I like it. Let's get into it. All right, so before we go any further, disclaimers. I do work with Griffin Armament sometimes. They sent me this. They sent me some suppressors. They sent me other things. But this is a product from them that they sent me, okay? So read between the lines, whichever you want to say. You know my disclaimers. If it stands on its own 2 feet, it's cool. If it doesn't, well, I didn't have to pay for it, so I don't have to defend it. I do not have one of their suppressors to run with this guy. I have some of their suppressors, but not any with the hub mount, not yet. So I'm going to be using another company. This is Yankee Hill. I love their stuff too. They send me things. I did buy this one. This is a T3 and it has the standard hub thread mount in the back. 1 3/8 by 24 is the standard mount that a lot of companies are using. And I just got off. I'm going to go on a rabbit trail real quick and I'll be right back, okay? Sorry, I got on a conversation with some guy about how hub mounts are amazing, right? Being able to utilize your mount, whatever mount you want to use with your suppressor, is awesome. His idea was that companies should specifically design their cans and their muzzle devices to only work together, because that alleviates a bunch of other stuff like not having third-party mounts and stuff, you know, and misalignments and the way that the muzzle device works in conjunction with the suppressor. It's all tuned. It's super, extremely, all levels of rocket science-y. That's cool. But unless you're like a fraction of a % of shooters out there that have to have like the absolute best stuff, and if you're that percentage of people, go buy a 3D printer that prints titanium and make your own stuff. Pity sakes. Anyway, so back to reality. This has the hub threads right here, so we can screw this guy in to any hub standard suppressor. All right, so this guy screws on here nice and tight. All right, you can use wrenches, get this guy nice and tight. This is some interesting stuff to pay attention to though, okay? If you're unsure of how this system works, it can be very frustrating and you could get really mad really quick. All right, let me explain. This has this, like, I don't know what you call this kind of spring, but you push up on this lever spring, this whole piece right here kind of comes up, and the gate will pop out, okay? This is a gate lock. This whole thing will pop out. And this works, if I haven't said before, and if you didn't know, this works in conjunction with standard A2 flash hiders, bird cages, A1, A2. Has this design right here, these flats. It's gonna work in conjunction with these and standard A2 flash hiders, right? If it's the standard design, it should work. Now, kind of going back to that conversation the other guy was having, not every company uses the exact same standard in all the dimensions of their products, right? So some A2 devices may not work. Griffin Armament makes a bunch of them that do work, and there's brakes and, you know, flash hider stuff. I got something in my eye. Sorry, I'm not winking at you. I got something in my eye. This right here is a pin and weld job. This is my clone, my Colt M4 clone basically, and it has a longer, this is slightly longer to bring the overall length to 16 inches, A2 bird cage, and it does work. It does work. Now, one thing I will say, before we mount this thing up and shoot it real quick and just kind of demo it, one thing I will say, this is a pin and weld job. I pinned this guy on here, I'm not taking it off. But I have used a crush washer, right? You're gonna need to be very careful and use an alignment rod or something if you're gonna have crush washers on here, especially if it's a pin and weld job. Because usually when I mounted this thing and when I built this guy up, I never intended to suppress this guy. Never, ever, ever intended to suppress it. It was always to be shot just like this. So I didn't care. I used a crush washer. That's fine. It's perfectly acceptable. Well, on this other gun, this is a 16-inch gun. This had a crush washer in the beginning, but since it's not pin and welded, I went ahead and took everything off. I timed it. I used shims, so it's much. You run far less chance of having a baffle strike. If you use shims, it's way more in line with the bore. If you use a crush washer, you run a high likelihood that mount is going to be tainted one way towards the other, right? Potentially. That's why you need to use an alignment rod to make sure everything's good, right? So I'm going to show you real quick. The way that this guy mounts up, we already opened it, okay? And let me close this real quick. When this thing closes down, this flat portion almost looks rounded. This flat portion, that is going to close up on these flats of the muzzle device. It kind of seems counterintuitive. I was trying to put it on the other way and it wasn't working and I was getting really frustrated. Well, I wasn't doing it right. So I'm gonna show you real quick how this guy goes on. So this gate is gonna be to the side, right? It's gonna be in line with these flats. Okay, so once you get it close to there, about like that, okay? Don't stick this guy all the way down in there. It's not gonna lock up right. You just need it to be about like so. Hopefully we can see that in there. And then everything should lock up. Now you see how I had to smack that? Sometimes you're pushing down and you gotta overcome that spring right here. You gotta overcome that spring. And sometimes he's not wanting to come out of the way, so just give it a little pop and it'll go down as long as everything's lined up. So now you should be able to see how that gate has locked up on the flat of that A2 flash hider. And now, he's locked up, he's on there. There's a little bit of left and right movement, which honestly, there may be one or two suppressor companies that I've used that have like absolute zero shift. Like if you're using a taper lock or something like that, it locks on, okay? But traditionally with QD attachments, you can have some left or right wiggle. Sometimes, not all the time, sometimes, and that's okay. That is fine. It's this movement, right? Or this movement that you don't want. Rotation, fine, it is just a little bit. So to take it off, you do the same thing in reverse. You basically push that little tab, do it on camera, it's really fun. Push the little tab, pull the little gate lock out, and kind of wiggle it around, and it'll pop right off. So here's the other gun, right, with a standard A2 flash hider. We'll do the same thing where we mount this guy up, right? See, he sticks all the way down in there. And obviously, if you locked it on there, it's just gonna flop around all over the place, so don't do that. So make sure he's properly aligned. Something like that. And he locks on there just like that. If you're having to bang on this thing, you probably have it misaligned. If it's just tapping it like I did earlier just to overcome that spring tension, that's okay. It's okay. But if you're sitting there smacking, banging on it, you're gonna be messing something up. And again, it's got a little bit of wiggle to it, but it's fine because that's perfectly acceptable. So, I've never even shot this gun suppressed because I've never been able to because it's always had an A2 flash hider on it. Let's throw some ammo through it. Let's see if it's gonna even cycle suppressed because like I said, I don't know. Never used it suppressed. Let's try it. All right, so this is just a quick demo, like 10 rounds, just to see how this thing works, make sure it doesn't fly off the gun, and then we'll throw it on the other gun, all right? So let's make sure this guy works. There you go. I don't want the gun to get too much heated up. That's kind of too many words. I don't want the gun to get too heated up. So that's as much as I'm gonna do. Let's go ahead and take this guy off before the can gets super hot. Unlock that gate, popped off, wiggle it around, fiddle it around, there you go, came right off. Easy peasy. So that's cool. So this guy's never been suppressed before, now he has. That's pretty neat. All right, now, let's go to this guy, the M4, the Colt. All right, here's something to pay attention to too. I'm pushing on that spring and I locked it in there before it's actually able to be locked on. Now that's gonna spin all the way around. Don't do that. It's not made to do that. That's not locked on. You're gonna mess stuff up. Make sure that gate is properly aligned with the flats. There you go. Make sure he's properly aligned and he pops down in there. It's not, this system is not made to be the fastest attachment system, right? It's made to attach to A2s, right? So see how this is not fully locked in? You need to wiggle this guy around until everything is locked in. See how now it's flush, now it's nice, now it's in there, secure and ready to go. All right, so first time this guy's been suppressed too. Let's see how she rolls. There you go. Quick demo, easy peasy, pretty cool, pretty neat. I like it. All right, guys, so there you go. That is the Gate-lok hub mount by Griffin Armament. I think it's pretty cool. If you're one of those guys that maybe you got a bunch of guns and you don't want to go invest in all these different mounts, right, for different suppressors and things, but you, and maybe you, like on this guy, you have pin and weld jobs that you really don't want to go to the trouble to unpin and weld, put a new device on, pin and weld it back on, all this stuff involved. this gives you the ability to go ahead and suppress those things. Again, be very careful, especially on pin and weld jobs, that if it used a crush washer, it might be fine, but you need to check it. So get an alignment rod. I think I use is it MC Carbo or McMaster? I think it's McMaster. I don't know. You can get some different alignment rods from different companies. Most suppressor companies design, or they don't design them. They make their own or supply their own. They don't supply them to you. Wow, a lot of contradictions here. But most suppressor companies, you'll be able to buy them from them, right? You'll be able to buy alignment rods from them. It's a very important thing to do is what I'm trying to say. Wow. All right, I beat that dead horse to death. Sorry, I'm rambling on and on and on. I'm done. That's pretty much it. That is the Gate-lok hub mount by Griffin Armament. I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty neat. I think it has a very, very good use, especially for people who have like pin and weld jobs like this, that they do not want to go to the trouble, sorry about the wind, they do not want to go to the trouble to unpin and weld their devices. They want to just keep everything normal. As long as it's aligned, get an alignment rod, as long as it's aligned, you should be good to go. This allows you to suppress those systems. I think it's really cool. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Do you think hub mounts are the way to go? Not just gate locks, but hub mounts. Let's get into that topic. But also, have you seen these gate locks and what do you think of them? Do you think there's a practical use to it? Or do you think you should just go ahead and stick with a traditional quick detach from your favorite branded suppressor company? I don't know. I like it, but I'd love to hear your thoughts, all right? Y'all be good to be safe. Appreciate you guys watching, subscribing, and everything, and hopefully we'll catch you in the next video. See ya.